La 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 la. Okay, 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 no, 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 no song. Actually, many of students of mine have been asking for this video for quite long, really. So here it is, phrasal verbs in English. Why are phrasal verbs so hard, difficult, and complicated to learn, understand, and interpret? Because they are in thousands, many of them, or they are so commonly used by native speakers. Yeah, it's quite frustrating. Yeah, and now here the question arises: why we people, from Pakistan and India, are not be able to speak like native speakers? Really, it's a question, huh? Now the answer to this question is as simple as that. Phrasal verbs are used or spoken in their daily routine conversation, and it depends on the context where it is used or spoken. Yeah, because one phrasal verb can have multiple meanings, a number of meanings. Yeah, it differs from one situation to the other. Now here I take the example of phrasal verb get up, and it has three standard meanings, and we have to be very careful while using it. Yeah, I already mentioned it depends on the context, on the situation. Means their meaning keeps changing. Yeah. So the first standard meaning of this phrasal verb get up is when you are sitting or lying down, you just rise to a standing position. You are sitting or lying down, you rise to a standing position. For example, I got up and walked over to where he was. Got it? I got up and walked over to where he was. Now the second standard meaning of this phrasal verb is get out of the bed. When you get out of the bed, you're sleeping and you get out of the bed. Okay, so here example sentence: they have to get up early in the morning. It's quite difficult to get up early in the morning. Now the third and the last meaning of this phrasal verb is when you dress yourself in a kind of particular clothing. Okay, and actually you dress in that clothing, means you wear that type of clothing. And example sentence is here: they knew how to get themselves up in those days. They knew how to get themselves up in those days. Okay, yeah, many phrasal verbs are idiomatic as well. Their meaning is not always as the individual words suggest. Got it? Means the phrasal verb is combination of 2-3 words. Okay, so if you just separate the words and using dictionary, start using dictionary and checking out the meaning of every single word, it's not gonna work. Okay, idiomatic, and when we just concentrate on the idioms, their words are different and their meaning is totally different. Okay, here the example of this type of phrasal verb is to put up with. To put up with, it means to endure, to tolerate, or to bear, or accept. It means whatever the conditions, we can say something or someone. Okay, or we also we can also just say for the conditions, means to tolerate, to endure, or to bear, or you just accept it, even though you find it unpleasant or unsatisfactory. Even though you find it unpleasant or unsatisfactory, but somehow you try to manage with it. Really. Here is an example sentence. We had been, what I say? And here is an example. We had been unhappy. We had been unhappy for years, but I put up with it. I put up with it for the sake of my kids. Now, we had been unhappy means he was not happy, and somehow he tried to manage. For what? Because of his kids. Yeah, we had been unhappy for years, but I have to put up with it for the sake of my kids. Now this sentence is really important, and I hope you people would understand the meaning of this one. Now, yeah, here is another. It's actually when we focus on the different words of these phrasal verbs, put up with. It doesn't mean that you put yourself and put something on any surface that is quite higher. No, or you just lift your body up and just place it beside something else. No way, it's not gonna work. Really, it's not gonna work. Yeah, here we can take another example of that phrasal verb, to put up with. I can't put up with this outdated computer any longer. Okay, it means you are no more interested in operating this computer or using it. Now means it's beyond your tolerance. Really, it's beyond your tolerance to operate that computer. Or I can't put up with this silly computer. Or I can't put up anything you can use with and someone or something we can use it. Both of them means living or dead. Yeah, living or dead we can say. Okay, so here and I can say no wonder phrasal verbs are quite overwhelming, frustrating. Yeah. Actually, if you are determined to learn about these phrasal verbs, you wanna learn all these phrasal verbs, really you're confident and you wanna do something regarding these phrasal verbs. So this lesson is for you. I'm gonna take you to four really important things. Four important things that you need to know about phrasal verbs. Really. So starting with first we just focus on the structure of that phrasal verb. Structure means how they are, we can see what they are made up of. Okay, so what is a phrasal verb actually? Phrasal verb is a standard verb. Go, pick, make, run, a number of standard verbs plus one or two, sometimes three particles or elements, but they represent single semantic unit, or we can say they represent single standard meaning, combination of particles and standard verb, but they represent single semantic unit or single standard meaning. Okay. Now here, particles. What are these particles? Obviously, adverbs or prepositions. Adverbs or preposition. But we are not supposed to focus on those, words, individual words. As I already mentioned, phrasal, these are, they are actually idiomatic and not always as the individual words suggest. Okay, so don't let that confuse you. Really, I know it's quite hard to understand phrasal verb. We often call now these phrasal verbs because combination of 2-3 words. Okay, so we call them a compound verb as well. Okay, now actually its function as the single standard verb. Really, in the sentence, means any sentence, it works as a single standard verb. Yeah, means even 2 or 3 words, but it indicates single standard meaning, single standard verb. And single standard meaning means considered as a single semantic unit, or we read it as a whole. Okay, so a particle in a phrasal verb can be either an adverb or a preposition. Yeah, and sometimes the combination of both means adverb and preposition. Means we can say, for example, this and now just focus on these combination 3 or 2 words. So the main things you need to know how to recognize those phrasal verbs, then you would be able to use them correctly. Yeah, when you are being able to recognize these phrasal verbs, then obviously you learn how to use them correctly in a sentence or any type of grammatical construction or structure, we can say. Yeah. Now, one of the first things you need to know about the phrasal verbs is it transitive or intransitive? Transitive or intransitive? Don't worry, these are very difficult, I know. Now, if it is transitive, you need something or someone, or we can say an object, either dead or living, after the phrasal verb to act upon. Means it's a word action word, so it needs or requires an object after that phrasal verb. Yeah, now take the example of phrasal verb to look up to. To look up to it, which means to respect or admire someone. The phrasal verb look up to means to respect or admire someone. But this phrasal verb always has to be followed by a person or someone. Really, means it needs object. Okay. For it, you can say you cannot really say that I can look. No. I look someone up to. No. It's actually a combination of words, and it needs an object after that phrasal verb. Yeah, so we can say I really look up to you, means I really admire you, I really respect you. Yeah, so look up to is a transitive. Here when we say it's transitive, mean it requires an object to act upon. Okay, so this phrasal verb look up to is a transitive phrasal verb. Transitive means it needs an object after that phrasal verb to look up to. You need to have someone after this phrasal verb to make it make sense. Yeah. And if a phrasal verb, now we are talking about intransitive, without object, means no object. There is it. If we put object, then it won't work, huh? Phrasal verb is intransitive. It's actually, when we say intransitive, it means it stands on its own. It doesn't need any object. It's independent now. It works on its own. It stands on its own. It doesn't need any object. Okay. So intransitive phrasal verbs. Example. Here example, speak up. When we speak up, yeah, against someone or something, yeah, you say publicly means loudly. We cannot control our tongue, okay? So speak up when you speak of something or someone, you are actually talking against something or someone, either it's bad or good, but in public or loudly, okay? And it's good or bad, whatever. Now example sentence, he often speaks out strongly. He often speaks strongly in any formal gathering. Means he has no control. Yeah, got it. I did stop him a number of times. I tried hard. I did stop him a number of times, even though he continued to speak out. Speak out, even though he continued to speak out. Here is this one, speak out means to speak loudly in public against something or someone, okay? So I did stop him a number of times, but he continued to speak out. Yeah. Why did you speak out in public? This is also a sentence. Why did you speak out in public? To speak out is an intransitive phrasal verb because it doesn't require any object to act upon. Obviously, it doesn't have any object to act upon. Really. Now, some phrasal verbs are either transitive or intransitive. Intransitive means in both sense we can use them. Yeah. And depending on the meaning, it depends on the meaning. I already told you. It differs from one situation to the other. But some phrasal verbs, they do not require objects. We intransitive, sometimes they require object. Transitive, and some are quite different. Means they fall in the category that they require object, and sometimes they do not require objects. So here the example of that phrasal verb, we can use it in both sense, means intransitive and intransitive. Yeah. So here it depends on the meaning actually. The example of a phrasal verb, now come over. It's a very important example because sometimes it requires object and sometimes it doesn't require object. Okay, which has two. Now first we try to focus on its meaning. Come over. When you visit someone on any place, means on their place, means you can say their house. Visit someone. Okay, so it's come over. So I can say, why don't you come over, means you come and come and visit my home, means my house. So it's example sentence, why don't you come over, means here there is no object after come over, means after that phrasal verb come over. neither living nor dead. Okay, and there is another meaning of that, phrasal verb. uh, it can also be transitive. Yeah, when we talk about its transitive meaning, means when it needs object. Okay, so here it, and actually it means changes there. Yeah, when we make it, what I say, transitive. When we make it transitive, then it doesn't stand on its own. It requires object. Okay, so this type of, it's actually meaning changes. It's a feeling suddenly comes over. Means sometimes, feelings, emotions, they, come over you or him or her. Means we require object. Okay, some sort of feelings. Here is an example of a strong, when there are certain, strong feelings, they just come over you, or emotions, a strong way, you would say that emotion came over you. That emotion came over you means you are surrounded by that emotion. Yeah, and a wave of anger, means we talk about the moods, a wave of anger came over him. Okay, suddenly means he was just gathered by that, and his movements, and what I say, these are really difficult phrasal verbs. So whether a phrasal verb transitive or intransitive, it's important, really important, to know the second thing. The what is a phrasal verb? One, and the next one, transitive, intransitive. Now this one is third. Sorry, this one is third. Whether a phrasal verb transitive or it's important to know because it helps you to understand how to use it correctly. Now, in addition to knowing if a phrasal verb is transitive or intransitive, you also need to know if it is separable or inseparable. Now first you learn the meaning of this. Separable and inseparable. Separable, something we can divide. Inseparable, we cannot divide. Okay, just bear it in mind now. Separable means we can divide, and inseparable we cannot divide. Okay, this is actually as simple as it sounds. Separable means separable, that the verb and the particle, combination of particles. I already mentioned the structure of that phrasal verb. It's a combination of standard verb and particles. Particles can be either adverb or preposition. So here, separable means the verb and the particles are able to be divided, or separated in the sentence. Okay, most likely the phrasal verbs composed of two words, the standard verb and the particle. Two verbs. Now this point is really clear. The phrasal verb, composed of two words, they can be divided. Now three words, no, for three words we can't say. Two words, phrasal verb. Okay, it can be separated. We are just focused on the separable phrasal verbs. They can be divided. Okay, now can be divided. Now they actually can be divided by adding pronoun. Mean that pronoun, comes in between. Or sometimes when it's imperative to be mentioned, then we put noun or naming word, we can say. Yeah. So in the middle of phrasal verb and that particle, either adverb or preposition. Okay. So, oh God, phrasal verbs can become so overwhelming. Really? Don't worry. Trust me. I try to make it as easier as I could. For example, I'm tired now, exhausted. We take the example of phrasal verb pick up. We can divide it now. Pick up. Pick up. When we, which means something drop down and we try to lift it up using our hands. Okay. Something's dropped down and we just try to lift it up. Okay. So, we go somewhere, or there is another meaning of that one. Yeah. When we go somewhere to take someone, along. Pick up means we go somewhere using any vehicle and to bring that person, or yeah, that maybe my son. I just go and bring him back, and using any vehicle, we can say. Okay, for example, now when we talk about this one, the first meaning, when we drop something down and try to pick it up, something dropped on the floor and try to pick it up, means we divide it. We just divide it, pick and up, both, and I put it in the middle. Pick it up. Oh my God, I dropped my cell phone. I immediately, picked it up. Picked it up. Okay. Now here, all of a sudden, I dropped my pen down on the floor, and I bent. Yeah, I just lowered my body. Yeah, to pick it up. Or my son has been waiting at the school gate. Now it's another sense, huh? When you pick someone using vehicle, any vehicle. My son has been waiting at the school gate and I have to pick him up. Pick him up means we put pronoun. Pick him up. Separable, okay? Phrasal verbs. We divide it, pick and up, and we put a pronoun in the middle. Okay. Now here's instead, actually, don't let yourself, confuse here. And for example, here, pick up the phone. It's ringing. It's also can be used as inseparable. As an inseparable, phrasal verb. For example, phone is ringing. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. No addition of any pronoun or naming word in the middle. Pick up the phone. Or we can say, pick up the pen. It's on the floor. Pick up the pen. It's on the floor. Means no need to adding any pronoun. No need to. Yeah. We can also use the naming words in separable. Separable, divide. Separable phrasal verbs when it's imperative to be mentioned. For example, means we can put naming word. I already mentioned sometimes we have it when it's imperative to put that sorry noun or naming word in the middle. So we can also use the naming words in separable phrasal verbs when it's imperative to be mentioned. For example, I check. Now it's a phrasal verb. Check on means to take responsibility actually. Phrasal verb check on. means to take responsibility. I take the project on means I am taking the responsibility of that project. Okay, I take the project on means that naming word just in the middle, project. I take the project on. Or it's also can be separable. It's not hard and fast rule that it's only separable or inseparable. It can use, we can use it in both senses. Okay, it can also be inseparable. I take on the project. Inseparable means we cannot divide it. I take on the project. First, I take the project on means separable. Okay, and if I say I take on the project means inseparable phrasal verb. We haven't divided it. Okay, now we are gonna move towards inseparable phrasal verbs. Inseparable, we can divide them easily. In inseparable phrasal verb, the standard verb and the particles cannot be divided. Yeah, by adding someone or something. For example, to look up to. To look up to, you cannot divide it. Yeah, to look up to, you cannot divide it. I really, you cannot say, I really look someone up to. It's not gonna work. It's wrong. Yeah, it's wrong. It's completely wrong. No way, really. I really look up to my teachers. This is correct. I really look up to my teachers. Means I really look up to means I haven't divided look up to. No, I just read it in a sequence. Look up to. I really look up to my teachers. Means I really admire, I really respect my teachers. Okay, now the last, number 4. Number 4, the first one, the definition, what is the structure of phrasal verb, and 2, transitive and intransitive phrasal verbs, and third one, separable and inseparable phrasal verbs. Okay, 3 done. Now last one, number 4, fourth one. Okay, last but not the least, what is the importance of using phrasal verbs? It's really important to know because when we start learning all these phrasal verbs, it enriches our vocabulary. Means we just not go for the complicated and fancy verbs, and if you are using phrasal verbs, and it sounds more natural. Yeah, and we feel more, even more confident while when we start using these phrasal verb in our daily life conversation. It sounds great, really. And sometimes it happens we just try to listen to those what I say, any type of conversation of native speakers, we cannot understand because the problem is they use phrasal verbs. Okay, if we are reading subtitles, okay, and yeah, subtitles are just in front of us and we are reading them. Okay, but we cannot understand the sense, what they actually mean. Okay, so here the phrasal verbs are really important, and when we just take out if we just note down from that movie or whatever the subtitle is, and you just try to because it meaning differs from one context to the other, you already mentioned it many a times. So you just take out using dictionary, and then you say, oh yeah, really, now I got it, what he actually wanted to say. So it's really important to understand these phrasal verbs, and so what I say, those are my top tips, yeah, for learning and using phrasal verb Do you have any other suggestion, any other tips? Do you have any other tips that you want to share with everyone here? Add them to the comments. I would love to see your suggestions. Really, I would love to see your suggestion. And in the comments, please. More, I will be making more videos.